Hey, this is George. Have you ever heard of Anchor.fm? It's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. Number one, it's free. Number two, there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so you can hear it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Check out Anchor.fm on the iOS and Android systems.
Need psychotherapy online or in person? Check out tinyurl.com/THT psychotherapy. The George Brassey podcast is made possible with funding provided from Brassey Global Strategies, LLC, a leading political consulting, public policy, government affairs, and research firm. Are you interested in running for elected office? Need advice? Call or email George, 708-769-5015. Brassey Global Strategies 1@gmail.com.
Snowstorm forces Chicago Heights to close City Hall. Snowstorm forces Chicago Heights to close City Hall, Chicago Heights, Illinois. Snow was on everybody's mind at Wednesday night's Chicago Heights City Council meeting. The Chicago area was hit by a major snowstorm, and Chicago Heights had about 10 inches of snow dumped on it Tuesday and Wednesday. City Hall was closed Wednesday afternoon because of the winter storm, and garbage pickup on Wednesday and Thursday was also postponed. And students at Chicago Heights School District 163 went to remote learning Wednesday because of the storm. The mayor's chief of staff, Karen Zaranti, thanked city workers for their efforts. She told the council that city workers had been working round the clock to keep city streets open and safe, and would continue to do so throughout the duration of the storm. Fifth Ward Alderman George Brassey also lauded city workers, saying, "The snowstorm we have experienced in recent days has been terrible, but the City of Chicago Heights Public Works Department has done an excellent job in maintaining the roads during the snowstorm. Each and every resident's request that was submitted to my office was addressed in a quick and efficient fashion." Christopher Bykoskas, 4th Ward Alderman, added that Public Works is working diligently, doing a great job cleaning up the streets. In other business, Zaranti said that the city would be hosting its second Illinois Department of Public Health clinic offering vaccinations and booster shots 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Saturday, February 12 at City Hall. The council also approved an ordinance renewing the city's employee health insurance policy and premium. The city expects to see premiums remain roughly the same. The city's benefits and insurance consultant told the council that he was able to negotiate lower rates with its insurer, Blue Cross/Blue Shield PPO, despite higher prescription drug usage by the 231 employees covered under the policy. Snowstorm forces Chicago Heights to close City Hall.
Before we get to the interview, I just want to tell you about our newest sponsor, Union Signs and Printing. Union Signs and Printing is a union sign shop located near Chicago, Illinois, that specializes in the production of corrugated plastic lawn signs used in applications ranging from political and election usages to unions, schools, and businesses. They also produce a vast array of other products, including American-made, union-printed t-shirts, banners, bio cards, literature, door hangers, business cards, and trifold. Get a hold of Union Signs and Printing at 815-740-1688 or find them on the internet at unionsignsandprinting.com. And don't forget to tell them you heard about their services on the George Brassey podcast. I'm so glad to welcome to my podcast former state representative Robert Terzich. Robert, great to have you on.
Well, it's a pleasure, George.
Robert, tell the audience a little bit about your journey to becoming a state representative. You had a
very long career, but you started in the early 70s. So let's take the audience back to the early 70s. What makes Bob Terzich want to run for office?
Well, I am 85 years old, George. And so you're telling me go back many, many years. And I wanted to be a public servant. I want to serve the people. And I come from a political background, if you want to call it that, being that I was born and raised in the Bridgeport neighborhood, and was a precinct captain and a ward worker and what have you. So I was sort of born and raised in politics, even though I didn't necessarily participate in it because I had a career in the Navy and all of that stuff before I decided that the position was available to be a state representative, and that was back in 1970. And the organization, if you want, was looking for a candidate, and fortunately, I was selected to be a candidate for the House of Representatives in the state of Illinois.
When you first ran, who was your running mate?
Well, we had a number of running mates at the time that the position of state representatives. There were 3 representatives and 1 senator from the area, and the Senate position, my running mate was Senator Frank Savickas, and my running mate for the House of Representatives was Michael J. Madigan and myself.
So you knew Speaker Madigan before he was Speaker Madigan?
Oh, yeah, certainly. I knew Mike Madigan, many years even before we ran. But we were similar in age, and I happen to be, I think, about 6 or 7 years older than Mike. And, we ran, I was 35 at that time.
And you knew him as a young man. His career has come to a close. Did you see that he had something in him at that point that would lead him to a real long career in politics?
Here again, Mike Madigan is special, and he's a good man and a good representative, and he's had a long and a career in politics. And about knowing what he could do or not do, that's beyond me. I know what I did. I was in the House with Mike for 20 years, and and he decided to, he did a good job, and he was reelected, for many, many years. He's the longest ranking speaker in the entire United States, and that says something to it. He's been elected for 20 or 30 elections, so that should speak for himself. And those famous last words of Mayor Richard J. Daley, he got more votes. That's what got me in office, and that's what gets every politician in office.
Talk about some of the issues you worked on in Springfield during the 20 years you were there. Talk about some stuff that you were passionate about that you helped craft the legislation on.
Well, there wasn't an idea of basically crafting legislation. I was nothing but a collective bargaining agent representing 150,000 people, being a elected official or a state representative. And we used to get over 5,000 pieces of legislation every session, which dealt with all different issues, education, abortions, right-hand turns, whatever, the issue was. And the unfortunate deal about that was every piece of legislation was special interest legislation, whether it was for the seniors, or whether it was for the teachers, or whether it was for the prisoners or the handicap. Everything was special interest legislation. So some of the issues that my deal was I wanted to be a good legislator and represented the people of my district, and not only my district but the entire state of Illinois. And I did introduce a number of pieces of legislation, whether it was the Clean Indoor Air Act, or for the hemophiliacs, or the retirement systems for the teachers and public employees, for health care and things of that nature. I have a primary interest that I was in the insurance business for over 50 years. And I don't know if you want to call me an expert, son, but I have a very good expertise on health and welfare benefits and retirement or pension benefits, of which I sponsored a number of pieces of legislation for public employees.
Tell the audience a little bit about the pension legislation that you sponsored when you were in Springfield, and now that you've been out for quite some time, how did that impact the state of Illinois, looking back on it?
Well, the problem is that we never had a definition of a pension in the pension code, and pensions were replaced back in the 60s and the 70s with what they call 401k plans and KEO plans and IRAs, individual retirement accounts, and things of that nature. And they basically went and said that it was a defined benefit plan. And I just happen to know what a defined benefit is. And because I was in the business for over 60 years as a agent for the Great West Life Assurance Company, which we did dental plans, life insurance plans, retirement plans, annuities, and did basically legacy benefit programs. And they were entirely different than when I got into the legislature, of the lack of knowledge of the subject matter by the members of the General Assembly. And so now we got this here $350 billion, what they call a pension deficit, and it's unattainable. And the same way that the participants think that they're paying for their benefits, but they're basically contributing. And it's nothing but a Ponzi scheme, which includes Social Security, Medicare, their pensions, their retirement income, call it whatever you want. But it's the impossible dream. And we acted like the credit card bandits in the General Assembly by authorizing all of these benefit plans, but we were not in a position to pay for them. And so now it's call-up time, and everybody wants their money, and everything is underfunded. Everything is has to be reformed, and unfortunately, the horse has already left the barn, because of supposedly the state constitution says that your benefits cannot be diminished or impaired, but that's left open to interpretation as to what benefit that you're talking about. And that's all up to the court systems. It's not up to me. It's up to the court system. I can only, give you my knowledge or so on. Like we got the overview of all of these benefits, which you can get from the bga.gov, and also the taxpayers, United Taxpayers of Illinois. And I think the last accumulation or formation of it, public employees, which they call pensions, which are actually, none of the systems are called pension systems. George. For example, you got the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund, you got the General Assembly Retirement System, you got the Judges Retirement System, you got the Chicago Firefighters Annuity and Benefit Fund, and these are all funds. And if you talk about funds, there's basically over 750 funds in the state of Illinois, and they have approximately 3,500 trustees, 600,000 participants, and over 600,000 beneficiaries that are in receipt of in excess of $25 billion a year. And the educational system is the biggest user or provider of all of the benefits.
Do other states have as complicated of pension system as the state of Illinois does, in your opinion?
No, because all of these things, George, that they do not have a plan document or a schedule of benefits, and it's all done by state mandate. See, and these things continuously change. All right, we got too many funds. Nobody knows who's on first or what's on second, and so on. And I'll give you a good example. All right. And I want you to understand that I'm not anti-teacher. I'm not anti-anything. I hope everybody is blessed with a wonderful pension and all of that. But I have the information on the teachers' retirement system that is put out by the state. Not the state, but the BGA and the United Taxpayers. All right, and on there they got the top 200 teachers' retirement, or they call it annuities. All right, the top one gets $351,000. That's the top one, and the bottom one gets. And this is annually with a 3% increase each year. And the bottom of the 200 is $210,000 a year. And their retirement age, all of them are under age 60. They're 55, 50, and all of that stuff. And the state universities, that's another good one. I got their top 200 is their top one gets $635,000 a year. And that's from the University of Illinois in Chicago. And all of them are from Urbana, Chicago, Oakton Community College, et cetera. But their top one is $635,000. And their minimum one is, let's see, just so I have the information here, is $219,000.
Rob,
that's annually, and that's 200. All right. So if you're looking at your tax bill, you'll find that that your biggest tax is education, and the majority of it goes to pay for the pensions.
Robert, tell the audience how you and I know each other.
Well, you happen to be fortunate to marry my granddaughter.
Very fortunate.
Yes. And I'm very, very happy and proud the fact that you are my granddaughter's, husband. And you also are the wonderful guy that made me a great grandpa. So you're all right in my books, George.
Robert, what are 2 books that you would recommend to the audience that have been influential to you that you feel they should know about and go out and read?
Well, this would be dependent upon what your interest is, George. All right. Now, it's like I said that I people call me this and all of that stuff, but believe me when I tell you, there's nobody that knows more about pensions and health and welfare benefits than yours truly. Mm-hmm. So if there's any public employee or who thinks they are a public employee because they do not have any eligibility requirements, they do not have any employer identification number, you're only going to get whatever they award or grant you, and you get disappointed when they tell you that you're not going to get your benefits or your entitlements. And this normally you learn this after the fact rather than before the fact. See, and so you're only going to get whatever you get. Now, I want you to understand that all of the benefit programs are as a result of a state mandate. They are the mandators, and I was a mandator for 20 years. I made the law and so forth. And I said we never had a definition of a pension in the pension code, and none of the systems call themselves pension systems or anything of that nature. And they don't have any vesting. They don't have any eligibility requirements or anything of that nature. And so you don't have to go and listen to all of the rumors. I get full. I'm entitled. I'm this or that. The magic word is if you don't qualify, you don't get. And they call these qualified events. This is how you get screwed out of your benefits or your entitlements. Now, the books that I have, with regard to knowledge about life and so forth, is I belong to the American Institute for Economic Research. It's called AIRS, and it's a think tank in Massachusetts, and it's all about economics. And they have provide a number of books about taxes, insurance, wills, God knows what, the basic economy. And they have this book. It's called How to Avoid Financial Tangles. And I believe it costs $4. And it's like a Reader's Digest for people when they're dealing with lawyers and financial planners and taxing and government and so forth. And I give this to you, and I give it to all of my grandchildren and friends and so forth. And I use it as a Bible to help with my finances and so forth. And you can get that book. It's called the American Institute for Economic Research. You can get it on the internet. It's called AIRS, AIER. And I suggest that the audience, obtain the book. And the other one that deals with the bankruptcy of General Motors, California, Detroit, on their pension deal. It's called While America Aged. It's by Penguin Books. Roger Lowenstein is the author, and it will tell you all about the pensions and health and welfare benefits and the bankruptcies and what have you. And in conclusion, they simply state that the problem was created not only by the General Assembly or the legislators, but also government, business, and labor are all guilty. And unless all three of them amend their ways, hey, you always have the problem, and you still do. There's no way that you can get $350 billion from anything or anybody. No way. And why do you think all these people are moving out of Illinois? Because they tapped all of the sources of revenue. There isn't any more revenue. They all borrow money, and they're selling off the toll roads. They're selling off the parking. They're selling off all of their assets. And once you sell your assets, you can kiss yourself goodbye. There isn't any source of revenue now. I think what they're doing is they instituted the cameras, over 6 miles an hour there, and they're getting, I think, on marijuana. Something the sales was, I guess, about, I don't know, a couple $100 million since the first of the year. And so this is where governments always generated their revenue. They can only get it from the source, and they tapped all of the sources. They replaced taxes with fees. And a good example of this is if you looked at your utility bill, you're paying 5 times more for your bill than what you actually used when they put in delivery charges, this charge, that charge. And a good example, like especially in Chicago, is they tap like your iPhone. All right, your iPhone, you're paying $5 a month, for the deal. If you're talking about a utility deal, hey, they charge 8% utility tax, and this is all over. Everything has been taxed out, and everything is taking the money from the citizens. And unfortunately, most of these here mandates are practiced and perfected on the weak and the poor, the unemployed, the seniors, and so forth, that don't have any source of income. But yet, they foreclose on their house, they put a lien on their property, they garnish their wages, they throw them in jail. And that's all because of state mandates.
Well, former state rep Robert Terzich, it's been great to have you on, and thanks for being such a great grandfather to my son George.
Well, like I say, that I wish I wasn't so pessimistic. It could have been more, charitable. I am out in Florida, and trying to protect myself from this COVID situation, and hopefully I'll be able to get back to Illinois to see my children and my great grandson. Love you very much.
Thanks for coming on, Bob.
All right. Bye.
Help George stay on the Chicago Heights City Council. Go and donate today at tinyurl.com/AldermanGeorge 2023. Need more George? Like his pages on Facebook. Friends of George Brassey PAC, Fifth Ward Business Alliance, Chicago Heights Bicycle and Pedestrian Resource Center, and the George Brassey Podcast.